Oh, can you hear me? Oh, we are having some technical problems. Okay. Let me know if you can hear me. Hi, Georgina. Can you hear? Hello, everyone, and thank you for coming. Let's talk about it, Stephanie. I am your host, Steph, and we will be talking about some great. Right now, we're having a little technical issues, and I promise you, I will get right back to you. As hold on, go get your drinks, and get ready to let's talk about what's going on, like President Musk, and what's going on with our legislation bills. Okay, and I'll be right back to you. All right, we are back. Well, hello, everyone, and Merry Christmas. I hope you all are having a wonderful day with your family. I had a blast. Of course, I cooked a little bit and hung out with my family, and it was just a wonderful experience to have all my kids at home. Just relax. Of course, Bentley's here. So we just sat back and relaxed and opened presents and stuff and just chill. So I like that. And I hope you guys are as well. And you got everything that you wanted. One thing I hear in Texas, this weather is just bipolar as ever. You don't know what you're going to get until you get it, literally. It's like 50, 60 here. It feels like it to me. I haven't been outside since yesterday, so hey. But I am having a blast. I just hope this weather gets a little bit better. I was hoping chill out there, but it's Texas. You get what you get and don't complain, because in a second it's going to change again. But we have a lot to talk about here long today, but we will be back next Wednesday at our schedule with a little bit more time to play and talk about things that's happening. So, of course, I was sitting up here watching the Texas game, and who of all people that would show up was Beyonce. So I watched that show, and that's almost like watching the Super Bowl. So I hope Kendrick will be doing a better job. He got a lot to do to compete with Beyonce on there, but she did an awesome job that she had on as well. Hey, Georgina. We st- Georgina, is she muted? All right, so we're gonna keep on. So, of course, we had a wonderful time with watching that show with the horse. It was awesome. I don't know what's going on with this this YouTube today. We having some technical issues and we're trying to get it fixed. But we're gonna have an amazing time anyway. Y'all chime in and let me know, how was your Christmas? How was your week? Okay. Hi, Georgina. Can you hear me now? Are you muted? Hold on. Let me see if you're muted. There you go. Hey, sister girl. How you doing? Okay, I got Dale here. Hi, Dale.
Hey, how you doing? Can you guys hear me okay?
Yeah, I can. I can't hear Georgina tonight. I can't believe it. She's going to be quiet, look like.
Okay. No, that's never happening.
Okay. That was
no, I Christmas thought I unmuted it, but I guess I did not.
So I gotta tell y'all. So we were having some technical issues and found out why I couldn't get on camera on this thing. Some kind of way I wound up pushing the camera to be shut off on my computer. We got that solved today, so we're good.
I had technical issues on my own side. For some reason, our internet just did not want to connect. It said you have it, but it's weak. Anyways, we've now got it, I think, set up, and it's doing better. So apologize about that.
So hi, Merry Christmas to both of you.
Merry Christmas. It's been a long day, but it's been a good one.
All right. Huh? Did you enjoy your day?
I did. We had lots of family. It's been a lot of family since yesterday, and it's all been really nice. I mean, it's been not just our family, but like the in-laws of my in-laws and their in-laws. So it's been a very weird mix, but I like that.
That's great. That's great. Dale, how's your Christmas going so far?
It's been going great. We're hanging back here in Texas. We're basically seeing our extended family, my wife's family, down here, and yeah, we're at a Christmas dinner together and Christmas desserts and played a couple of games. So it's good fun family time. Talked a little bit about politics and things like that, but didn't go too deep. Thankfully, it's not like the Thanksgiving tradition where sometimes you have relatives who sometimes disagree with you. Most of us kind of be on one side of the aisle. So nothing was too awkward. It was just a pretty good time, and sharing presents and things like that. Doing a white elephant was probably the most controversial thing we had in the night in terms of just, who's taking whose gift. And always, of course, as always, the other thing too with the white elephant is deciding what the rules of the white elephant are, because sometimes not everyone knows whether or not, if there's a limit to how many times you can steal a gift, or if the first person who goes gets to play at the end. And if the first person does get to steal at the end of the game, is there a chain reaction after that? Because everyone seems to have slightly different variations of the white elephant game, right? Every time I play. So always remember, here's a good PSA, public service announcement. Make sure you establish the rules of the white elephant game before everyone starts playing, and make sure everyone knows what they are. Otherwise, you're going to run into a little bit of back and forth conversation. But overall, a very fun Christmas.
Okay. Yesterday at work, and I promise you, I was like, oh my goodness, I just can't. But trust me, if they would have had that little portable fan, I would have stole it. That was mine. Well, I'm glad you had a time with your family, and that's what's important. It's not about the gifts, it's about spending time and just having memories, That's one of the things we did today too. Is all the kids were here. Two of them. So I'm hoping and praying that I do not get sick after them. But I'm telling you, oh yeah, I had the flu shot. So I'm like, I don't know. So I'm like, now again.
Yeah,
Right.
I feel like it's that way always with younger kids all the time, especially like anyone under the age of 8, right? They're always sneezing everywhere. They're always getting into things, but life will, as they say, carry on.
Okay. All right. Well, I'm not gonna keep y'all on here long tonight because I know we're still hanging out with our families and stuff. I just left them downstairs watching the football game. The only thing I wanted to see was Beyonce. And yes, she did Texas proud tonight. She looked gorgeous and all white. And I got to get that cowgirl hat. She got it from. I want one.
Okay, I might be a little bit out of the loop here. I haven't turned on the TV all day today. So who's playing what and what, Beyonce did a halftime show or something like that? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, she did they're playing. Texas is playing. I don't even know who the other team is. That's sad. The Texans is playing somebody tonight, and I think it's a big deal. All I know, Beyonce was on there, and that's all I cared about because they forced me to watch KFC. Baltimore, right? No, Pittsburgh. Oh, that's who they're playing. Okay, so Texas is playing Baltimore Raven, which I have to stand neutral because one of the group with one of my kids is playing with the Baltimore Ravens, so I have to be really. I just got to be quiet. So I'm cheering for Beyonce.
Interesting. Yeah. So before living in Texas, I lived in the DC area, and for the longest time, we would root for. At the time, it was called the Redskins. They're called something else now, like the Chiefs, I think. But I tell you, the Redskins, man, like they always had a hard time. Every season, they always had a hard time, and so some of us would bandwagon onto the Ravens. The Ravens were, I think, they're more of a newer team, right? Like I don't think they're any more than a decade old. Is that right? I'm not quite sure if that's correct or not, but I know there was many of us who would root for the Redskins, who would start to say, well, you know what, after RG3 was gone, because RG3 was a pretty good quarterback for a time for the Redskins, but after he was out, started eyeballing the Ravens because they were our northern neighbor. They're, I think, the more the Baltimore area, right? We would
Okay.
start to follow them. But yeah, it's interesting, small world.
It is. It is. Well, those that know me know that, of course, I love my Saints, and there's a reason why. Even though there's a reason why I love the Saints. I was born to love horse, and I still have hearts for them, even though they're losing and they're sitting at home watching the games. But when Katrina hit, and I watched how Drew Brees and Sean Payton had took on the team and was taking them all over the place, and they were displaced because they gave the Superdome over to the people out in New Orleans who needed a shelter. So I just watched how they played, and they played with so much heart. And I just the leadership that Drew Brees had with his team, and they just, even though everybody else was talking bad about, still kept moving forward, and that's what led them to win the Super Bowl as well. So the Saints turned into America's team because they had heart, and I just love the way that they were handling the situation that they were in, because they couldn't really focus on what was going on with their family. They had to continue on meeting those obligations and go play. So I really appreciated how they did things, and that's what made me a fan of them. So Brees and Sean Payton are both gone from the Saints, and I still love my Saints because it's from the state. But I'm always love the Saints and the Cowboys. Those are my teams. So neither one of them are in. We all gonna be wearing a brown. So that's how that goes. Hi, Georgina, you back?
I hope so. I don't know, man. It keeps going in and out. But yeah, we just restarted the internet, so hopefully it works from now on.
Okay. Well, we're gonna go ahead and get started so we can go back and enjoy our eat all this wonderful food. I didn't cook a whole lot this time because I'm like, I'm not gonna get stuck. So we'll go ahead and get started. Y'all ready for these little hot topics?
I'm dying to hear what you have to say. Yes. What's going on?
Okay. You know, President Musk made a phone call to the House to tell them to shut it down. So he wanted to shut down the federal government. Now, how you like that? First of all, those that voted for Trump did not vote for Elon Musk. We wound up getting President Musk. I don't know how that happened, but I back out of it. So it's a lot of stuff that he's doing, and really, I want to make sure that number one, that he doesn't go to jail. Number two, he paid to put President Trump in office, so he's trying to collect. So hope Trump is careful how he lets them collect, because I don't know about that. Got to make sure you have a good contract already signed, but I think he signed something bad and letting this man do everything. That's how he's coming across, that he's going to tell the House and the Senate, this is what I got to do it. So Mike Johnson, he got his hands full. So I don't know if he sit this one out or what, but we are headed for some rough water.
Well, I mean, and it's Republicans who are actually wanting this too. I mean, he's trying to close down the government. He recently just 86th any kind of raise that our House members were going to get. I mean, kind of like school funding, they too haven't had a raise for a long time. I think, 2009? And one of the big issues there is that it has got to be affordable to be a member of Congress. Otherwise, we only have millionaires in Congress. Does that make sense? I mean, you've got to be able, it's a full-time job. And what they make now, if it's not tied to inflation, I think that's going to be hard. I mean, you've got to have two houses, one for your state, one to be in DC. And to never have a raise for over a decade, 15 years, that does make it tough. Elon Musk also wants $380-something million from the link, but he's going to 86 a less than 4% raise from Congress. None of this makes sense. But yeah, I guarantee that he's probably going to get that $380-something million that he wanted for Starlink, that they turned him down in Congress this year, last year, a couple of years ago, while at the same time trying to shut down government so regular people such as ourselves don't get paid. He doesn't care about anyone. So we've got Trump and Musk, who only care about their bank accounts, now taking up control of our government. A little nervous. Yeah.
I think we should be. Dale, what do you think about this?
Well, it's interesting. So it's surprising, but not surprising. So what's not surprising is that Trump will gravitate towards and really like anyone who gives him attention. For example, the current day is to Elon Musk as the past was to Steve Bannon. Steve Bannon used to be completely side by side with Donald Trump back in the day. And it's because Bannon gave him attention. And it's also interesting the relation between Steve Bannon and Elon Musk is that I think the reason that Trump gravitated towards Steve Bannon so easily is because Bannon was a political news figure. He had power over media. Now, while Bannon did and kind of still does have power over a certain aspect of media, Elon Musk does as well, but he has so much more power in comparison to Bannon because now Elon Musk owns Twitter, what we now call X. And that's an extremely powerful platform. I mean, even previous to Elon buying X, previously known as Twitter, every single state house member, every senator has a Twitter account. And it was like almost the number one way for legislatures and lawmakers to communicate with their people, actually even more than Facebook, right? And so Elon, being the now owner of Twitter, puts him into a very powerful position as a media figure and as someone who can, if he wants to, manipulate the media message. And what you see, case in point, the terminology of what we sometimes call, air quotes, shadow banning, right? He can do that if he really wants to. And so, of course, Donald Trump would appeal and associate with Elon Musk because, unfortunately, Elon Musk has played a very smart game. Elon Musk has lost money. He has lost money in the concepts of buying Twitter. But in the reality, while he did lose a lot of money in doing so, he's gained a lot of media power. The interesting thing that we see here, though, is the battle of egos. Both Elon Musk and Donald Trump have very, very large egos. They're very, very self-centered and very, very narcissistic, to the point where you can actually see almost strife between them, or a competition, if you will, between them. And I think that is something that is showing, especially when Donald Trump very recently went on to Turning Point USA. And there was 2 points in the most recent Turning Point USA message that Trump gave. He wanted to basically kind of assert his dominance and basically say that apparently you can see that Donald Trump was annoyed that people called Elon Musk President Elon. Trump verbally twice in that last Turning Point USA speech said that I am the president. He also made a reference to basically saying how Elon can't be the president because he was not born here, which is not technically but literally true. Elon Musk actually was born in I think Southern Africa, if I understand correctly. But it is interesting, but I think the battle of egos is happening here. And I think the reason that people are calling Elon Musk the president is because we saw how literal actual lawmakers literally crashed a bill to fund our government last week. And what's also alarming on top of that is they did eventually pass a bill to keep the government open late Friday night. But the collaboration between Elon and the lawmakers was this. I don't know if you guys, I posted a video about this on social media that showed other videos from MSNBC and a couple of others. But Elon Musk, in collaboration with Republicans, what they changed in order to have the budget passed was one of the things was to cut funding for children's cancer research. And it's very alarming. Now, I don't know if Elon specifically asked for that. I don't know if that's the case, but regardless, Elon communicating with our lawmakers ended with that result. And it's very clear that Elon does have significant power, not just only as someone who owns Twitter, one of the most major, most used media platforms in the world, but that he also has the ability to sway our lawmakers. And whether or not the way things happened was specifically planned by him or not, we definitely see a very negative impact on our society and our country based upon what we saw. Especially if you go onto my Facebook, you can find the videos referencing, right? I talked about how they just cut they cut funding to a child cancer research bill, a program that was established back in the Obama administration and established in a very bipartisan manner. So that's the result. But this also comes down to the concept where both Trump and Elon, they both seemingly want to have, they both have this agenda of trying to tear down the government. They believe in, air quotes, small government. They want to reduce the size of government. And that's been a common conservative talking point for a while. But in the act of doing so, it's very eye-opening when you're cutting funding for child cancer research and things like that. Like we have a government for a reason. It's what keeps the lights on and keeps us organized. And they are really going off the deep end. And we're seeing Trump and Elon together having infighting. So it's very interesting. It's very interesting and also very concerning, because if this is how things are starting now, because again, Trump's not the president yet. If that's how things are starting now, I'm very fearful to see what will happen over the next 4 years.
As Musk will be the next Bannon. Huh?
I was just gonna say we have less than 30 days before he, and I'll tell you right now, the behavior that they're displaying now, it concerns me. And I know that I'll put it like this here. We're gonna have to sit this one out and let them tear each other up. And it's gonna have to continue on working to build our country. I sure hope some people that are working behind the scene that's in DC or that the country don't fall apart, because that's my biggest concern is Trump is saying, hey, he's the president, but well, right now the president, and you also not acting like my president getting ready to go in. Somebody call all the shots, and who we haven't even heard from Vance, which I could care less what he has to say anyway. From him, it's like it's Musk all the time. So we that's going to be going out, especially when you're talking about education. We already having that problem here in Texas where want to fund our public education. So we already have that issue. We're already going to have another. If you have pre-existing health issues, that you're going to have problems with the covering you, so they might reverse that law. If you have pre-existing, you might not be covered. And I hope that does not happen. So but that's what happened before. And I'm praying that it does not go back to the old ways, because we really need to be looking towards the future and making this country, making this with the people that he has lined up. He looks stupid. I'm gonna say it like this. This is my show. We look stupid. We look like we have a bunch of thieves and robbers and I don't know what we can do to change it. I've never seen anything more. All I know is to do is be prayed up and try to do the best that you can. And I just hope that we got some adults in the room that's going to make sure that the country is ran correctly and not going to the
Well, we've got a lot of narcissistic sociopaths that are now going into office. Everything from our Senate to our House to our president to the people he's putting in his cabinet. They are not going to get along as well as they hoped, because they're going to have their own agendas, and there can only be one.
Georgina, what kind of popcorn are you going to have? Because it's going to be a lot of popcorn party in my house or something. Hey.
Caramel, butter and caramel, a little cheese on the side. I don't know.
Ooh, listen, I've been eating corn with a little caramel to it and putting some peanut with peanuts in and mix that bad boy up. And hey, I'm gonna be chilling and my Dr. Pepper. Okay, Dr. Pepper, y'all need to pay me for this, but I'm gonna be drinking my Dr. Pepper.
Yeah, I saw your Dr. Pepper. You bring that Dr. Pepper everywhere.
I'm gonna go ahead and agree with you guys and also disagree. I agree that it is definitely going to be chaos, and they're going to have turbulence on their side of the aisle for sure. I do have a couple of very major concerns. Now, first, let me go on. There's 2 points I want to bring up. One, yes, they're going to have turbulence on their side. And then 2 is my grave concern. Now, let me go into thing 1 first. Yes, they're going to have turbulence. And we have seen this before. This is not the first time Donald Trump was the president. Previously, Donald Trump was the president, and he did have turbulence. Case in point is the healthcare problem they ran into. Because the first time around, Donald Trump had a trifecta, just like he's going to have this time around again now. He had Republicans in the House, in the Senate, and they were trying to decide whether or not they're going to repeal Obamacare or repeal and replace Obamacare, right? The Affordable Care Act. And ultimately, they they dropped the ball because they were trying to figure out what would they replace it with, and they couldn't figure it out. Essentially, they couldn't figure out a healthcare plan of their own that they can fund. They complained about the individual mandate for so long with the Affordable Care Act. They kept harping on that, but they never actually came up with a plan of their own on how to fund a healthcare system that would take care of the pre-existing conditions. They basically were talking always about the things that they were angry about, but never came up with an alternative solution, which is why that blew up in their face. And it's something that really goes to show that Republicans, and especially Republicans behind Donald Trump, they know what they don't like, but they don't know how to fix anything. And I think this time around, we're going to see the same thing. We're definitely going to see the same turbulence. Now, let me go into point two.
Well, hold on, Dale.
Sorry.
On that one, we don't have John McCain anymore. He was the only deciding vote that did not get rid of Obamacare. And now we've got a lot more Republicans, just kind of like we got in Texas, that are going to fall in line more than they did in the past.
Yeah.
And so I don't know. I mean, I see what you're saying, but I just wanted to throw that out there. Not point two. I'm so sorry.
No, actually, well, point two it wasn't going to go into specifically that. I was going to go into something similar. I was going to talk about John McCain. I was going to talk about how I worry that things are going to be worse. Because particularly when it comes to healthcare, because Robert F. Kennedy Jr. is going to be the head of the CDC, and he's already announced that he wants to get rid of the polio vaccine. Because he believes that all vaccines are a conspiracy theory, and it seems it made the headlines to be like, you want to get rid of the polio vaccine. He references this, and this is something conspiracy theorists easily run into, because they say the polio vaccine was rushed. Well, yes, it was rushed, and also the COVID vaccine was rushed, but that was because we were going through a very catastrophic episode in our time. But you see, the polio vaccine, that's been around for a while. Like, there's been time since the polio epidemic. But I gravely grow concerned, because I spend probably more time than I should admit, out of curiosity, watching like Alex Jones at InfoWars and the far-right conspiracy theory outlets. And they always have this conspiracy, more so recently, saying the government's going to push out a new COVID type of thing, right? And it's kind of like, the conspiracy theorists are saying there's going to be like a new pandemic coming up soon, but yet you elect someone like RFK Jr. to be the head of the CDC, and wants to remove the polio vaccine. Well, it's like, this is a self-fulfilled prophecy right now. Like, this is insane. And that's my grave concern. So basically, point one is, there is going to be turbulence within the Trump administration and the party. But my graver concern is that this time around, we have even more crazier people. And as Georgina said, a couple more loyalty people to Donald Trump, who will simply give his bidding. And I'm fearful of the chaos.
I don't think they're going to be so much loyal to him. I really don't think they're going to be loyal to Trump. I think, as crazy as it may seems like a lot of the people in the House and in the Senate are going to be more loyal to Musk. So it's almost like, and it's showing now, wrong, but the way it looks like, they're going to be taking their orders from Musk.
Yeah, but think about it this way. He's head of Dodge now, and him and RFK, but well, they kind of differ on different things. But when you go through and you're looking at cutting expenditures or what they consider wasteful spending, what does that mean?
Yes.
And I think a lot of that, what they're considering, would be some of these programs that would help, like our spending internationally, that looks into research for different diseases, or where we spend money in Africa and third world countries to try and mitigate some of those diseases, where I can't really put together what I'm trying to say, but where we're just trying to hedge off pandemics and things like that. They're going to cut that funding, is my biggest concern. And then we don't have our, inoculations to help with the, what was that, Dale, you were just talking about? The vaccines. If they're not making vaccines, if we're not taking care of internationally, trying to make sure that those don't spread, we are looking at another pandemic. And I don't think that's really a conspiracy, to be honest. I mean, if they're really looking at RFK and Musk and them wanting to cut what they would consider wasteful spending, this is a real concern we should have.
Yeah, they're removing the safety net, and
Yes.
that's the concern that we have. When you remove the safety net, you shouldn't be surprised if someone falls and gets hurt because there's no safety net, and like
Yeah.
it's just
No.
it's what they're doing. And I mean, again, I don't want to sound like a conspiracy theorist or not, but sometimes I look at these people like Alex Jones and some of these far right media outlets, and it's like, are they saying this? Are they trying to push this conspiracy theory that the government is going to quote unquote cause another pandemic because they're aware of the damage that RFK is going to do?
That's
Like,
what it looks
are
like to
they?
me, Dale.
They
Sorry?
know the government would be them at this point, right? Like,
Yeah,
it would
true.
be them creating the pandemic.
True.
Mhm.
Well,
Yeah.
yes and no. In Alex Jones, I'm not sure if you're familiar with the John Birch Society, but according to the
Mm-mm.
Alex Jones, there's a group of air quote globalists that secretly control everything, and basically the way that they weasel their way out of this, because again, it's not the first time that Donald Trump has been president. The way that Alex Jones and the John Birch Society folks phrase this, they basically say it's the UN. The UN is the problem. And that's why they use the word globalist a lot, because they basically talk about a global worldwide government and things like that. So that's why even when they have a Republican as the president, they still get to continue their conspiracy theories, because they basically blame someone else even higher. That's the way they continue this. But anyways, the John Birch Society and Alex Jones Infowars are obviously extreme far right individuals, but that is the thing they push. I don't really honestly care about them. I'm gravely more concerned about if the CDC honestly gets rid of the polio vaccine and others, because it's not going to be that alone. We're removing safety nets, and this is going to affect people's lives. It's going to affect people's lives.
Who was that? Was it Mitch McConnell that said that he was the one that suffered? Was it him?
I'm not sure what you're talking about. Mitch McConnell, he froze up twice. Is that what you're talking about, or are you talking about something else?
No, I think it was Mitch said that he suffered with polio when he was a young kid, and he's us having the vaccine. So hopefully we got some more like-minded people that vaccine, that they don't get rid of those diseases, because can you imagine the bad or the black, any of those bad viruses that they had, and they still have them locked up, but it's possible that we might wind up saying the things that they got rid of or put to the come back, and we're not protected. Like I was telling my husband, I'm like, our polio vaccine, and I'm fine. I don't know what RFK is talking about and why he wants to be such a conspiracy person on what protects the people. What really matters is what's protecting the people. Those that want to really getting sick, or those that are not, maybe they need to find other remedies to make sure they don't spread along. I have my theory on things like that, of people that's against vaccine, because if I had kids, and this is my opinion, I would not want my child around somebody that's against certain things, because now you're exposing my child to wind up getting it. Might not be as bad, but we got to look at this thing. Are we going to wind up separating people vax from the non-vax? What are we doing? So
Yeah,
I think
that's a very similar conversation to what we had during the pandemic with COVID. When it comes to people having a pod, as we would say, but just because I was curious about this, I'm learning something new every day. I just pumped this into ChatGPT. But yeah, Mitch McConnell contracted polio in 1944 at the age of 2. At the time, polio was a significant public health issue in the United States. His family lived in a rural part of Alabama. His mother was instrumental in ensuring he recovered with proper care. She took him to William Springs, Georgia, which was known for its polio treatment center, popularized by Franklin D. Roosevelt. I had no idea about that, but that's interesting. I don't know if Mitch McConnell, in his old age nowadays, is well enough to continue to push for proper health care. But I know that polio was a terrible, terrible thing that hurt lots and lots of people. I think there's other countries that are suffering from it, I think, in this day and age, from what I understand. But that's more um, not first world areas. But
Well, my
so yeah,
middle child has Down syndrome, so he's already autoimmune compromised just because of that. And we did have neighbors who were anti-vax, and I didn't realize that till COVID hit. And oh my goodness, I mean, they're the worst kind of conspiracy theorist, far right Christian. Everything's weird. Don't be on your phones. Yet they do everything from their cell phones. I mean, right? I know. It was weird, but they decided that they weren't going to vaccinate their children because they were going to let them make that decision. I'm like, but I don't want my kid around unvaccinated kids because he's autoimmune compromised. I can't take that risk. Yeah. And I got to be honest, as a parent, I was terrified because I thought my kid who can't fight off those diseases like yours is now in jeopardy because you chose not to protect your own child.
Exactly. Can you imagine chicken pox? I didn't get my sisters did. And I can't even imagine you saying, oh, we're not going to chicken pox. None of my kids had chicken pox because they got vaccinated. They had a vaccine for it, and none of them had it, you know? And I'm like, when I was coming up, they didn't have it. So you had to suffer and scratch with it, you know?
Scars. You get scars from chicken pox.
Exactly.
Kids die from chicken pox, believe it or not. Yeah. But if you look in certain areas where they're anti-vax, measles is a big deal. They've come back in the anti-vax areas. So we had measles eradicated, but now in certain areas we don't.
Yeah. And it's also like a lot of the areas that are more red during the COVID pandemic, where there was a lot of anti-vaxxers in certain parts of our country, you saw an increased percentage of death because of the number of people who would not get vaxxed. Wait, let me back up just by 2 sentences. There's a vaccine for chickenpox. One, I didn't know that. Also, I find it funny that Georgina, you talk about people scarring from chickenpox. I didn't know that was a common thing. I thought it was weird. So I have this. I can't grow hair on my mustache right here. That's because I had chickenpox as a kid, and apparently I scratched like my face all over. I had like chickenpox on chickenpox, and so I have a scar. I don't remember doing it. Apparently I got it too young, but that's actually why I have this little area on my mustache where it looks like I have a booger, but it's not a booger. It's just I can't grow hair there because of my scar. But yeah, I didn't know there was a vaccine for chickenpox. I'm glad to see that we have that. And this is one of those things where it's kind of like, it's a good thing that we're making progression in the world of medicine. I grew up kind of all over the country, but my younger childhood was mainly in Connecticut. And when you grow up in Connecticut, they train you to be deathly afraid of deer ticks and Lyme disease, because of course Lyme disease was discovered in Lyme, Connecticut, right? So, and I knew someone who had Lyme disease when I was younger. And I did get bit by a deer tick years and years later when I lived in the DC area, and I was freaking out, and I went to the doctor, and the doctor just prescribed me some pills. And it's like, oh, just take these pills. And apparently you can actually get rid of it with an antibiotic nowadays, where back in my day when I was younger, you had to get several shots for that. You know what I mean? Like over a lot of shots over time. But, we've made progressions in medicine, and it's a miracle that we have. And it really, really helps things. And that's why I grow so gravely concerned when we have people who just honestly, in my humble opinion, do not deserve to be leaders, like RFK Jr., especially for a medical department like the CDC, because I feel like they can undo a lot of the miracles that we've been in the progress that we've been able to make over time when it comes to the medical industry.
Right. Well, that's a good point too, because we're not only looking at decreasing our education system, we're also looking about turning back medicine. This is, honestly, what's coming up the next 4 years is a little bit scary. It's a lot scary in so many levels, from women losing rights to people of color losing rights to our healthcare not being as sufficient as it should be, research being defunded, education being defunded. I don't
Yeah.
know.
Yeah.
And then
We're
he's giving the
I'm
police
sorry.
the power to do whatever they want to. That's going to be on a lot of black and browns mind. Pretty worried about just driving in the daytime. First it was driving time. Now it's going to be driving at day, just driving. Period. That you might have this renegade police have to do harm to you because he knows that he's not going to get charged for it. A slap on the wrist. And I just think that this next 4 years on us, but I think that we can get through it because at the end of the day, I feel like Musk and Trump are not going to get along. Their little courtship that they got, divorced like 3-4 times, so they're going to divorce each other really soon. And I hope that we got some good people that that are on the GOP side to step up and do the right thing and protect the country, put the country first before your. And I think that should happen on both sides. Is that we need country and not about fattening up our pockets. We need to think about protecting the people because the day the people matter. And unfortunately, folks that voted that way, they chose this, but we're all going to suffer for their choices. But I really hope that the Senate and the House make a good form not to pass a lot of these laws that they're trying to get passed. And I hope somebody in the Supreme Court that'll say, you know what, we're not going to do that. I'm hoping there's somebody that has some good sense because basically America's going to be destroyed if we continue letting this happen. Because look who he put as the defense secretary. I'm like, what are you doing? They safe. So hopefully we have some people with some common sense there that's going to make sure that they do the right thing by us all. It doesn't matter if you're a GOP or if you're a Dem or liberal or whoever. It doesn't matter because we all live here and we're all going to suffer together because of this. Yeah. So I hope we have a lot of bipartisan happening, but we got our work cut out for us here in Texas. And that's what these years that I'm going to be really focusing on is what can we do to change the mindset of the folks here in Texas, because I feel like Texas run the country. Whatever happens in America, if it's going to shoot out to the rest of the states, but we got to fix Texas because we like in education, our health system here is not the best. It used to be good, and now we're not. We have a lot of doctors that are leaving, and we got a lot of problems here in house that we definitely got to fix. So how do we fix it? Well, we got to get good people that actually care, and that's going to quit lying to the people and do what's right. Again, I had been listening to a lot of these podcasts and TikTok, and they were having live TikToks, and I came in on the back door side of it, and I was listening, and a lot of my African American people were talking about for Trump, and I'm like, man, these people are really brainwashed, right? They think that Obama didn't do anything. I'm like, do you not know when Obama office, we were in debt to almost over our head in debt, and we had to bail out they don't understand that. So it's like our message, Del, if we have to tell people the truth. We got to give them straight up facts and let them know, because they hear us, but they don't hear us. And we got to continue on making sure that the message get out. And that's why this is a perfect show to bring on candidates and people that can communities and stuff to get on here and let's talk about this stuff so people can hear it, because listening, and either they're not listening or they're wrong people that's giving them the wrong information.
Mhm.
Yeah, you're absolutely right, Stephanie. And it's going to be hard. It's going to be a constant, weekly, and if not daily, attempt to try to reach out to people and make sure that they hear us. Because your friends, anyone who's black and brown and voting for Trump, I think I get it. I think it's because they're listening to media outlets like Fox News, which give constant lies. They're uninformed about the truth of the reality. Stephanie, you were talking about how it seems like anything that bad happens here in Texas stretches across the rest of the nation. You're absolutely correct. And if I can find it, I want to send you an excerpt from Beto O'Rourke, because he gave a speech and he basically says that the fight starts here in Texas. He says it starts here in Texas. He references how Texas was one of the last states to end slavery. He references how when integration was happening, I can't do this justice because I can't remember the exact details off the top of my head right now, but I think the Attorney General or somebody was fighting against integration more so in Texas than other places. But Beto O'Rourke gave several examples upon how Texas historically has always been this area where extreme far right and sometimes even very racial issues have come up. In Texas almost more than anywhere else. And that's why Beto O'Rourke says, like, literally, quote unquote, the fight starts here. That was also something he referenced in his book that he last released. At least I think the book that he last released. He released a book within the last year. I got one of them. He was giving a speech about it. He's reading an excerpt from that. But yeah, the fight absolutely starts here in Texas. And what was else I was going to say? Yeah, to messaging and things like that. This is going to be something difficult, but something we're going to have to continue to push for. I would say that it's a civil rights issue, not just for Black and Brown, but also for LGBTQAI plus neighbors and everyone else. And the right wing media, they only seem to focus on hate and division and the border, seemingly only that. But I feel like the right wing messaging that they give are running out of topics to talk about. For example, if you look at the debate between Ted Cruz and his opponent at the time, Colin Allred, Ted Cruz was asked about climate change, and Ted Cruz deflected. He was asked again and deflected. And thank God, WFAA at the time who did the interview, a third time asked Ted Cruz and said, hey, look, you didn't answer the question. You want to talk about climate change. And then Ted Cruz literally sat there and said, you keep asking me that, and then deflected again. Donald Trump did the same thing in his debate against Kamala Harris. Twice he was asked. It shows that the right-wing messaging system is running out of topics. They pivot, they turn away, and they go right to the border. They always go right to the border. But our democratic messaging platform is it's multi-topicked, and it has to do with the policies. Our policies is trying to fix our healthcare system, right? I would say it's one of the top three. For me, it's number one. As we have seen, we cannot trust Republicans to take care of the healthcare system. Case in point, the last time Donald Trump was the president of the United States and also had a trifecta, they couldn't decide whether or not they wanted to repeal and replace Obamacare, and they dropped the ball. So healthcare, that's it. Democrats are helping there. Another one is education. I don't need to tell you all about that, and I think anyone who's on this podcast will understand what a travesty the school voucher program will do. And if anyone listening to this message right now is not understanding of what the school voucher program will do to our public education system, I am so sorry to tell you that you are going to find out, because it's going to pass here in Texas, and it's going to be very, very bad. So we Democrats, we're the ones who want to actually fix things with healthcare. We want to fix things with education. We're the ones who want to increase the minimum wage. If anything, I'm somewhat disappointed with our Democratic Congress members, because they should have been pushing harder for that. The minimum wage has not been adjusted since the year 2009, not 2019, 2009. And we have had inflation since, and this is hurting people, and inflation is hurting us in all sectors. These are the things that we care about. We Democrats, we can talk about policy decisions on topic to topic to topic. We don't need to pivot away. We know what we need to do. What we need to do is just make the billionaires and the millionaires pay their fair share of taxes. Make them pay the same general percentage on money that I pay for my taxes.
Mhm.
We have Elon Musk, the richest man in the world, living here in Texas. If he paid his fair share in taxes, how much of that money could we put towards health and human services? How much money can we put towards our education system? Granted, we do already have a surplus in Texas. I know that is also a problem. But every time I bring up the concept of saying, like in a candidate forum, it was, I think Stephanie, you were with me. I was saying we need to increase the basic allotment by at least $1,000, and it was Detrick's Republican opponent. I'm blanking on his name right now. He came late, but he referenced me, and he basically said, "Do you understand how much money that would be to increase the basic allotment by $1,000?" He used the common tactic, which is to make the audience feel sticker shock. But it's kind of like, for one, guys, we have a surplus. But even if we did not have a surplus, if we just taxed the billionaires and millionaires at the standard rate that the rest of us get taxed with, we would even have more of a surplus to fund our social platforms.
Yep.
Mitch Little, thank you for reminding me of the name. Anyways, I don't mean to steamroll the conversation, and I know our hour's coming up, so I'll let you guys.
No, I want to.
Yeah, but here's the thing, though. I think what's going on right now is that we got a lot of rich people, the billionaires, just in Texas and throughout the country, that are scaring the poor people in the middle class. And they have a way of brainwashing and kind of like things that they're doing so that we can fall for it. So there are great con artists. They're doing what they need to do. Like there was a comment that Musk's mother had, that she wanted people to have more kids so that her grandkids could have workers. Who says stuff like that? So we issues going on throughout, not only in Texas, but throughout this country. And we got people like her making statements like that you don't care about what's going on with a woman's health. You want that woman to have a baby so your great grandchild can have a worker that'll be working for you. That's what it's all about. No, they don't care about us. And as soon as American people wake up and see that these people do not care about you, they don't care if you can't pay for your food. They don't care if you can't pay your hospital bills. They don't care if your son or daughter gets an education because they stupid. They don't want them to learn anything because they will be more supportive and can tell them A, B, and C. And guess what? You're going to believe exactly what they tell them to, because they don't have the foundation to make sure that they have what they need to look for and to have. So we got to work hard behind the scene and fight for that. And Dale, you're absolutely right. People and the people that are in the Senate that are Democrats, we need to be blowing up their phones and telling them, hey, we need y'all to work for us. We need y'all, forget all those promises that you made. Y'all need to go out there and make sure that they're not passing those bills. Y'all need to are working for the people and not to be fattening up your pockets behind the scene.
Well, I mean, it gets worse because I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
Yeah, I apologize. I thought you were done. Musk, many wealthy people don't really pay. We know they don't pay their fair share of taxes, if they pay any. But on top of that, they're also getting money from the federal government, like the $388 million. Musk has had many of his projects funded by the federal government, while at the same time not wanting to pay. Now, they're also trying to cut our funding for our education, which means, again, we're more likely to work for Musk versus be a competitor against Musk. And this is not an accident. It's on purpose. It started with charter schools. They've done everything they can to try and get as much money from our public schools as they possibly can. And it's because, like you said, they don't care about us. If they keep us unhealthy, they keep us uneducated, they make us feel bad because we might get money back from the federal government for going to college. Yeah. When they've got all these programs where they can pay for college, never pay a dime in taxes, and then actually possibly get a little bit of a cut from it. No, they're telling us that we can't have exactly everything they're getting. Every time they don't have to pay a tax, that is a tax rebate. That is just like if the federal government sent us a check after we paid our taxes and got it back, or they give us that supplemental, whatever it was, that $1,200 that we got during COVID. That was absolutely no different than the millions of dollars that Marjorie Taylor Greene got from the federal government that she did not have to pay back. They've just
Exactly.
told us we can't have it when at the same time they're all collecting, but they're collecting in much larger amounts, not thousands of dollars or hundreds. They're taking it in millions of dollars. But they can't, anyways. Yeah, that's my rant.
Yeah.
And
Boy,
we
I
need to
tell
start letting
you,
people know that we deserve it just as much as they do because we actually paid the money in.
that's true. That's true. It's our money. I'm gonna tell y'all, man, this the conversations, and we're gonna have to put a pin in this here and come back next Wednesday and definitely talk about some more big topics that's going on. This is a great. Thank y'all for coming on. Merry Christmas to everybody. And don't forget to come back on here and subscribe and like the show. Make sure that you go on to YouTube and check out Dell's TikTok because Dell is on TikTok. Dell, I've been watching you on TikTok. I love that. Keep it up. We got to get the word across. We're going to do it. And it's going to be hard. We're going to have some people that's going to fight us about saying, but we have to be able to speak on it. If we don't talk about it, nobody anything, and they're going to be uneducated. So we're going to have to educate our people the best way we can, and the best is talk about it.
I agree.
Absolutely.
Weekly it is. Next week, I want to talk about our local representatives who should not be in office.
Oh, great. We have
Which one?
some candidates on the show. So we're going to talk about
and Brandon
that.
Gill, who should not be in office. But yeah, we've got some topics to talk about.
Absolutely. And also, if you want to do any more homework, right now is the time that state House representatives are filing for the bills that they're going to want to hit the House floor. So I think Trujillo, I think I shared you a link where you can look up the bills that Jared Patterson filed. But you can do that for all 5 of the state House reps and the 2 senatorial reps that we have running in Denton County. But it's pretty bad. But indeed, let's put a pin in this and let's absolutely talk about that next week because there's a bunch of bills I would like to bring up as well that would be absolutely devastating.
Let's do that. Okay. Yeah, I like that.
So next Wednesday, y'all, we're going to talk about bills, how short their next legislation. They're going in. I'll probably be in Austin. Don't know yet. On the 14th, it's Austin to get on their last nerve because you know what? We need to rep. So
is that January?
Yes, it's January 14th.
Is that the PTA?
No, the PTA is going to be in February. So
okay.
Yeah, so we definitely need to go with the PTA to go down there and render support, make sure that they have our backing. So I'm y'all, we're gonna come back next Wednesday and we're gonna have a whole new thing that we're gonna be talking about. We're gonna talk about these bills and these candidates. We're gonna just talk about it because we talk about it because we can't keep it to ourselves. So we're gonna spread the tea. So y'all be ready next 7 p.m. and have a Merry Christmas. And thank y'all so much for coming on. Thank y'all for watching. And please don't forget to like and subscribe.